no one took a gun to your head and told you that you need to buy XRP on your first purchase. For some people, one shot is all they need. For some people, they need 1,000 shots before they make it. After I just finished working at a clinic, on the way home, and I suddenly got this message: "Hey Ian, you interested in investing into an esports company?" They're all like either Malaysian founded, or they are based in Malaysia, or they even still have their entity set up in Malaysia. We thought we broke even, essentially that we still made a loss. But I guess the space is growing, and then it's inevitable that people will start becoming a little bit more competitive. But I feel that we're still so small.
GM everyone, this is Saib here again from The Base Show, and today I have a very good friend, an esteemed professional doctor who has ventured into the Web3 space, and I am here to be able to give this opportunity to all of us to understand from his perspective why Web3, what has he achieved in Web3, what has he seen in Web3, and how has the journey been so far, coming in from a doctor to Web3 and now beyond, right? Welcome, Ian.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure, because not every day I see a doctor who has kind of ventured into. I mean, thing is, we've seen many different people that have entered Web3 for many different reasons. I obviously agree that majority of it is being because of the opportunities, the money, the network, or just people that believe in the tech or the impact, right? So would love to really dig into your background first, right? Sure. So what have you practiced? What do you actually do? And then perhaps leading into what that journey brought you into Web3 as well.
Gotcha. So, so my name's Ian. I am a medical doctor still, even today. I kind of did my medical degree in Ukraine, Simferopol to be more specific. Did 6 years there. And then post-graduation, went back to Malaysia. I practiced for about 7 years. There was a mandatory service that I had to go through to get my license. Don't get me wrong, medicine is still a primary passion of mine, right? That has never veered since I graduated. But I think what was lacking in that industry was the opportunity to meet new people, explore new opportunities, right? Yep. And when the opportunity came, funnily speaking, it was right after I just finished working at a clinic. On the way home, and I suddenly got this message from a common friend, right? Okay. Just casually asking me like, "Hey Ian, you interested in investing into an esports company?" I was like, esports, wow.
So it wasn't even a crypto alt Bitcoin, wasn't. It was literally an investment opportunity right into esports company.
Correct. So it's 2015. That was back in 2015. So I guess it wasn't a direct kind of like medicine to Web3, right? It's more so of medicine into entrepreneurship, and I think that's very important, right? I made a quick decision to actually invest, and that kind of transitioned me into a full-time role very quickly. And I'm not gonna lie, it was a tough journey. There was so much to learn. Yeah. Right. I think doctors or any medical practitioners, pharmacists, medical assistants, physiotherapists, anyone in the health industry, I think we are not trained in a way that to think entrepreneurially, if I may say that, right? Yep. So it was tough managing a business. We were not that big. There's 5 large at that point in time. And managed to scale the business and grew at one point to about 90.
Wow.
Wow. That was
how soon was that?
That took about 5-6 years. Okay. And of course a merger in between as well. Fantastic. So it was a steep learning curve for sure. Right?
How was that transition from practicing medical to getting your entrepreneurial hat in? I guess a better question would also be, did you have any sort of experience before that, any sort of exposure, or was it just you taking that leap of faith and just getting straight into entrepreneurship and just kind of learning as you go?
I did that, learning and as I went, right. It was I never had any like prior like experience, to be honest. I hustled. Right, I did as a medical doctor. I was a insurance agent. I sold insurance at one point.
Okay.
Right. I did some forex trading, and then I kind of like learned a lot more about macroeconomics, how things work, but other than that, I never really did have that exposure to entrepreneurship. So definitely it was tough. It was easy to manage 5 people.
Yeah.
But it was a lot more difficult when you started scale, right?
Yeah.
Understand operations, cash flow. That was my role.
Did you ever think that I was better off being a doctor? And as you got into this deep journey of entrepreneurship?
Yes and no, I guess. I would say that they offer 2 very different things, right? Part of medicine, one thing that I enjoy a lot about is the team play, right? That is taken away from you once you go private, because you go into a clinic, right? You form a team, or you work for a team that's very siloed within a clinic premise, versus working in a hospital where you get to work with multiple people. You have nurses, right? You if you're a surgeon, then you work with anesthesiologists as well, and so on and so forth, right? Then you become kind of like part of a team to kind of like solve one person, an individual's problem, right? In entrepreneurship, you do have a team, but you at the same time, it gives you that network that you mentioned prior.
Yep.
That enables you to kind of like learn even more and faster. We live in a day and age where we leverage off what people have, the mistakes that people have made,
right?
Learning from them. Right, and improving from there.
Absolutely.
And that is the fastest way for us to grow, like it or not.
And learn.
Right, yeah. So I think that's what entrepreneurship kind of like offered. And it was tough trying to get the grasp of that. Because we're trained to be critical thinkers as a medical doctor. But beyond that, having multiple disciplines to actually manage, whether it be people, clients, right, staff.
So if you were to go back to the point of time in life that you had the option to go straight into entrepreneurship versus practicing medical, knowing that you have done both, because not many people have the opportunity or the privilege or the chance to do that in life, right? Because if you are a doctor, the path is being a doctor, being a senior doctor, then eventually growing that whole path, until you have become a very high positioned senior in the hospital or private clinic, right?
Yeah.
What would have you done?
There's a little bit of a red pill, blue pill question here, right? I think I wouldn't have changed anything. Like I mentioned before, right? Medicine is still my primary passion. Yeah. Like me being Web3 right now, or with all the experiences that I've like garnered across 14 years, I still feel that I want to go back and serve.
So that's still your end goal?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I actually am already doing it.
Okay.
So I've been running charity clinics from time to time back in Malaysia.
Respect.
As and when we have the time, bull market and also a little tougher. Yeah. But trying to make it work.
Respect to that. To that. Well, I guess, Ian, a good question here is, so you went from practicing medical. I believe what I'm really hearing here is that whole, critical thinking and experience also influenced a lot of your business decisions as well. Being sharp on weighing pros and cons, removing emotions as well. Now, you enter this esports company where you eventually scaled it to a team of 90. You were deep into this journey. What brought you to the trenches of Web3? Like, how did that evolve to where you are today? How did that opportunity lead to something where you have believed brought you to today?
Okay, so this requires a little bit more story. I was offered the opportunity to actually mine Ethereum, I think sometime back in 2015. I declined.
What was your first crypto, by the way?
AXS, SLP. Axie Infinity.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my gateway.
Yeah, not wrong at all. I guess
yeah.
every one of us back in those days were exposed to the retail-focused token.
Correct.
Whether it was the XRPs, whether it was the Axie, Litecoins, and okay.
Yeah,
mine was XRP, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Bought in at the top $3.
Yeah, well, it's not really. Well, he'll get back. But with that being said, yeah, I mean, it was a common denominator for me because it was gaming.
Yeah.
Right. And I was building my esports marketing agency at that point in time. So that kind of like, one thing led to another, I guess, during COVID especially. Running an esports outfit is cool and fun and all. But I think why jump into the trenches? Funnily speaking, it was due to a Facebook kind of like post. A friend just posted there and said, "Would it be nice if you could earn money and play games at the same time?" It's one of those posts that you would usually just skip, right? It's like, must be like some Ponzi or some scam, right? But I decided to action on it, like weirdly. This being with that thought in the back of your mind, right? That I actually declined to mine Ethereum back in 2015, right? So if you look at the timeline, it's kind of weird, right? Fast forward 4 years later, and I kind of like decided to jump on bandwagon. But I think what's key here is that common language, right? I jumped into crypto not because of crypto. I jumped into crypto because of game.
Yeah.
That can earn crypto.
Yeah.
Right. So that is, I think that's very key. So jumped into the Axie Infinity, joined a scholarship, was a scholar for not too long, to be honest. Then kind of like branched out to run my own scholarship with my partners. And
in Malaysia itself.
In Malaysia itself, yeah, at its peak.
Are you a gamer by nature as well?
Oh yeah.
Hardcore.
Yeah. I wouldn't say hardcore. I am competitive.
Okay.
I would think that I'm in between.
Got it.
I'm a casual competitive player, if that's a category in itself.
Yep.
So I am pretty competitive.
So that's definitely one of, as much as, and maybe I'm going a little off topic, but I just want to touch on it a little bit of how we are seeing the sentiments in the gaming industry today on Web3 saying gaming is dead. There's no revival. Perhaps there's no need of blockchain, right? But we have seen like a lot of the use cases. For example, what has brought you into blockchain or Web3 was a fantastic example, fantastic onboarding. I'd say event that brought you into Web3.
Yeah.
And then, of course, dwelling into different opportunities, exploring what could have gone further, and now being where you are.
Yeah. So I do agree with that, right? However, with that being said, I think we are in very different cycles and very different phase in timelines. A model like Axie Infinity probably would have problems kind of like sustaining in this cycle and onwards. So I think all game publishers within the Web3 space need to kind of like, I think they are working on it as well. Trying to rethink it, right? Like how do they make it still very, very attractive? Because mind you, I'm not gonna lie, I was attracted to the very fact that you can play games and earn money.
The monetary value.
Because all games that you play these days, you don't earn anything.
You're rather spending.
Correct.
Yeah.
And today, if the publisher decides that, guys, we're shutting down, one button and then everything that you have spent, it can be $1,000, it can be $100,000, everything just goes, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of talk about like interoperability in the gaming space. There's a lot of talk about interchangeable assets, being able to tokenize assets so that they're tradable and whatnot. These are things that we've been listening to and have been demonstrated, but maybe to not much success as of now in the past 4 years.
Yeah.
Right. But I still feel that there's so much room for opportunity there, because once someone figures out that recipe to success, then every game publisher that comes out after that is going to basically take after that.
Yeah.
And that is when the Web3 gaming industry will boom.
Agreed. I think there's, also that being said, we have seen a lot of, failures, assumptions that have not played out, that people or publishers and even investors on the other side could learn from at the same time. But I guess this is a very, very deep topic. And
I mean, like, if I may just add a final thought to that, like, I think we're both from ARC, right? So Gabe always likes to say this, it's an experiment. The whole crypto industry is an experiment because everyone needs to continuously try because it's innovation.
Yeah.
Things that people have never seen before.
Yeah.
So if we do not keep trying, we will never reach that point where it's going to be a success.
I agree, absolutely agree, and I believe it's just very important for, I'd say, everyone to realize that you're all part of this experiment.
Correct.
Right? You're all part of this experiment in some form or the other, whether you're on this end of the spectrum or the other end, meaning you could be the one that's leading the experiment, or you could be the one that's being on the other side that may have got affected by the experiment.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And hence, you're right. You're absolutely right. Like, this takes years of being in the space, years of having that roller coaster ride, being rugged, time and again, or having the opportunity to even experience a huge upside, to be able to get that acknowledgement of the fact that this is an experiment that will eventually mature to a point, but this is where I feel it also somehow brings that depiction of a wrong image to the entire industry. Because, of course, with this whole experiment, there are a lot of people that are going to take advantage in the wrong way.
Correct.
Right? But I guess it's where, you as an audience, you as an investor, as a stakeholder that is playing as part of this experiment needs to be mindful. It's
an opt-in, right? At the end of the day, no one took a gun to your head and told you that you need to buy XRP on your first purchase.
Absolutely.
Right?
It was greed.
You decided that, hey, this is something worth looking at. Let me give it a shot.
Yeah.
And sometimes, for some people, one shot is all they need.
Yeah.
But for some people, they need 1,000 shots before they make it.
100%.
So it really depends on you being able to understand the flow.
Yeah.
And I want to take this opportunity to also kind of like put the whole kind of like Web3 bubble, right, and put it alongside with everything that we do in our daily lives.
Sure.
Whether it be the financial industry, whether is it the automotive industry, or whatever it may be, right?
Yep.
There's no difference. Bad actors are everywhere, right? Just because some things are not on the papers doesn't mean that it's not happening, right? Financial scams are happening daily, not only in Thailand, only in Malaysia.
Yep.
It's in the States, in Europe. It's everywhere. Every country has that problem, right?
Absolutely.
It's just that because the crypto industry is a new industry, and there's a lot of limelight, so to speak, right, being shown onto it, right?
Yep.
Because there's only so many people that's actually part of the industry.
Yeah.
So it's really, really easy to spot that one little blot of dark dot on a white canvas. So people choose to focus on that, unfortunately. But that's, to me, I see that as progress.
Yep.
Right? Because if people are not talking about it, it means that you're irrelevant. Right?
That's a very good point.
If you're irrelevant, then no one's ever going to continue to look into it.
Yep. So
I guess it's a good and a bad. But yeah, I truly think that way.
Let's go back to a little bit on, I am well aware, as now you have gone from doctor to, this esports company. You run a very reputable, I'd say, advisory and marketing, I'd say consulting entity that also has brought around impact for the space in a lot of positive ways. Would love to understand, how did you come around to that particular journey, and how is that evolved to be what it is today?
Yeah, so I think that kind of like brings me back to that whole beginning of my crypto journey as well. With X Infinity, then I obviously I really appreciate the people that have given me that opportunity to be part of the crypto industry as well, right? I worked for a couple of outfits. That's where I kind of like exponentiate my learning as well, right? And one thing that I realized was that there was a gap. So I ran an esports marketing agency, in actual fact.
Oh, right. Okay.
And on top of that, we used to we have brick and mortar. We also run esports teams and so on and so forth.
Right.
So there's many pillars to it, right? And after X Infinity and working for several projects, and also grinding, the whole NFT cycle.
Yep. The good days.
Yeah, the good days. And I came to realize that there was a huge gap. Basically, I think you, me, anyone in the crypto space that's a founder or working at on some level, you would probably get a text message on Telegram and say that, hey, are you interested in crypto marketing? Blah, 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 blah. Right? It's very generic, right?
Yes.
It's very copy pasted, and then you keep getting shielded with all these things, and you wonder about the authenticity, and also the quality of delivery at the end of the day. So I saw that as a gap, and because of that gap, I went to my partners of my scholarship and said, guys, I think we should do this.
Yeah.
Replicate the business model into Web3. I think we have a lot to offer, right? It's going to be slow, but I'm pretty, because it was during the bear market, and I do believe that we can make an impact, right? And we're in our 4th year now, and it was tough. We started out in the bear market. No one was spending on marketing.
Yeah.
We had to basically grind and go out, make connections, build more networks, right? And convince our initial clients that, guys,
you were the guys.
We got it, right?
Yep.
So we slowly fine-tune our business model with it. We do advisory, tech, and marketing. Nothing under tech is in-house. We outsource it.
Yeah, partners. Yeah.
And I've always been very transparent on that point.
Yep, which is totally fine. Yeah.
But on advisory and marketing front, we do everything in-house. So, with that being said, we wanted to bridge that gap, and we basically fine-tuned ourselves to cater to a specific region, and that is the APAC region plus China. And we do whatever we can.
Yeah.
Right. When I say China, I obviously mean like Chinese speaking,
right?
Nationals that are outside of China. So we focused on that and slowly built day by day.
Yeah.
Right. And that led to the whole Malaysia Blockchain Week happening last year for the first time.
Perfect prelude to the Malaysia Blockchain Week, which is, again, another very important milestone, and the fact of actually spearheading this entire initiative, to me, is very novel, right? Because, to be honest, it's not a very sexy job, right? As sexy as it looks when you're on stage, a lot of people don't see what goes behind the scenes. A lot of people don't realize how expensive it could be, and sometimes it's not as rewarding as you think monetarily, but I'm sure there's many different reasons why you would still continue doing it, apart from the impact that you bring. So I guess that's a perfect question for me to ask as you touch upon Malaysia Blockchain Week. What drove you? What drove the actual passion to run something on a more nation level thing, like a nation level event? Right.
So because in esports we did a lot of events as well, right? Running broadcasts, stuff like that. So the know-how is there.
Yeah.
Running an event, right? So from even from the first year, we were because we always go to CoinFest Bali, so I think it cropped up there. Then we casually, I think my team and I kind of like casually mentioned it and said, wouldn't it be great if we had a Malaysia blockchain week? Because we never had one, right? Kind of like a marquee flagship event, akin to like the Thailand Genesis Blockchain Week, that's run by Sanjay and CryptoMine, you know, akin to that, right? And that is actually one of the core pointers for people to kind of like look more into the country, because you suddenly have something that's large scale that's happening in the country, right? So we've always joked about it, but we never really wanted to. I want to get our events. I'm going to be honest. I've done enough events for a lifetime, so never a direction that I kind of like painted for Lydian Labs. But I guess opportunity kind of like, you know, when the door is presented at in front of you.
You either grab it or you grab it.
That's actually what happened.
Right.
So I want to kind of like dial back a little bit, and Malaysia Blockchain Week last year was not its first iteration. It was the first iteration done by us.
So maybe rewind a little bit. When was the first Malaysian Blockchain Week?
I believe it was
hosted?
in 2019.
Okay.
By a separate entity.
Right. Got it. So
but it was largely a very local affair. I would say that it wasn't like, you know how blockchain weeks are. They are very loud globally, right?
Correct.
That I wasn't even in the crypto scene then, so I believe that. But based on what I've heard, feedbacks and everything, it was largely local, but it was done before, right? So, but because nothing happened, we did it last year, so it's 5 years in a row that nothing happened. Obviously, alongside that, there was a mix of COVID, lockdowns, etc.
Right.
But at the same time, but truly, nothing much happened, right? So it was the government agency that suggested to us. They said that they needed a flagship blockchain event.
Okay.
So that is the door.
Got it.
So we were stuck, right? We were like,
perfectly, actually.
I don't want to do it. But here's the opportunity.
Because now you're walking into a different room, right? And that's perhaps, I'm not going to say everyone's goal, but I'd say for every journey, there's a level of progress, and you know that if you can sit at the table convincing officials to be able to steer a certain policy within the blockchain space that impacts the entire country, I think that's something you would want to be part of. Or not, I don't know, right? I
would love to, but at the same time, I guess it's all about knowledge, right? How much do you know, and is it adequate? It's never going to be enough. Like we mentioned earlier, right? It's an experiment, right? The whole thing. Day by day, we're still trying out things that are unproven, and to take it to the national level, that's definitely a lot of skepticism, right? Especially when it comes to security, sovereignty in terms of like data, money flow. These are so high level discussions that a medical doctor shouldn't be talking about. I mean, just to kind of put it bluntly.
I think for a second, everyone has already forgotten you're a doctor.
But yeah, would love to have that seat, but I don't know the value that I could bring. So once again, an experiment. If I'm given that opportunity to speak, I will.
Well, let me ask you this way then. Tell us a little bit more of why you believe Malaysia as a frontier or a country in Asia could be, if at all, the frontier of blockchain, right? And perhaps that's a better way to frame this. Whether or not you are at this table to voice that opinion, I feel this is where we would like to hear from you.
Yeah. So that's very much aligned with our goals at Malaysia Blockchain Week as well. One of the core reasons why we're actually even doing it, right? I think a lot of people don't know. I think till this day, especially when we're going out, we're marketing for Malaysia Blockchain Week, and when we have that conversation, and then we say that Etherscan, CoinGecko, Jupiter, Pendle, Drift Protocol, and more, and Virtuals, and so many more, right? They're all like either Malaysian founded, or they are based in Malaysia, or they even still have their entity set up in Malaysia. Everyone gets right. Because we are a small country. No one would have expected it to come out from this measly 44 million population, right? So I guess that is big showing in itself. And it's not about leveraging on them, right? But it's just to tell people that we do have the talent. We do have the people, right? We have the right mindset and the brains. It's just that we are so enclosed, being a small country and everything. We don't have that opportunity to engage and reach out to more people outside. Look, you and I, we spend a big part of our revenues every year to be in different countries, different conferences. Not everyone has that opportunity.
100% agree.
So the idea was to bring them into the country, right? And in hopes that these big boys that we have in Malaysia would be able to kind of like lead them. Now, there's a very clear difference between spoon feeding and leading.
I agree.
Right? And I don't think it's along the lines of spoon feeding. And I truly like empathize with these like OG founders, right? It was tough.
Yeah.
I had the honor of like actually being on sharing the stage with Matthew, Bobby, right?
Yeah.
Seong from Jupiter, Sean from Salus. I understand their pain. I know what they went through.
Yeah.
And today, in this time and age, right, we're not saying that we need to be so charitable that we need to take out all our time to nurture the future. Right?
Yeah.
But I think we need to break that cycle.
I agree.
Right. Just as back then, when they were fundraising for their businesses and they found it so difficult as a Malaysian tech founder, right, to raise capital, we should put more effort into breaking that cycle, helping whomever that we feel that aligns with you, right? So I think that's something that we want to do at MYBW.
Agreed. I believe in everything we do, regardless of which industry, you sort of need some role model.
Yeah.
You sort of need some benchmark, some hero figure, right? Someone you look forward to, someone you look up to. And you're absolutely right. Like, without the benchmarks and the success, sometimes you always tell yourself that you can never go and get there.
Correct.
But when you see, hey, this same founder that used to perhaps live in the same community as me had or has that ability to go up there because he has the same 24 hours as you. He has the same access to resource around you. I mean, maybe at different levels, but it's all about that mindset and the grind.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
And again, it's about being able to believe first that you can do it. Right. But that's a fantastic, I'd say, goal to set because in a way, you're already trying to foster the growth of the entire ecosystem. And I can attest to that because I had the privilege to attend one of this private dinner that you did a couple of weeks ago. And I was amazed. Right. I obviously walked in with no expectation, but I was confident that this would be a good session. Flew down for a night, but I was amazed because of the quality of people that you had gathered in the room. So I'm definitely looking forward to the entire event playing out. But now, also very curious to understand the success that you guys have achieved thus far. Right. So from day one to now, year 5 or year 6?
Year 4.
Year 4. How has that evolved? How has that, what was the traction back then? How was the traction back then? And now what's the traction moving forward? Or like, what are you guys looking forward to today?
For Lydian Labs specifically, I guess we're moving towards growing together with projects. I think we don't want to stay as a vendor anymore. We want to have that seat at the table with projects to help them grow. Obviously, as long as we are aligned, we have same vision, we have common interest in what the project's going to be delivering. We want to have more skin in the game. So that's something that we're working on right now. We kind of like soft launched our fund even, so that it gives us that ability to kind of like write checks as well to support the projects, right? So that's kind of like how it evolved. From Malaysia Blockchain Week specifically, I guess it's more so of inspiring, right? I think we've touched on that, but it all boils back down to one word: inspiring. I think one of the successes that we enjoyed, aside from all the statistics, let's put that aside, right? I think one of the core successes that I really, really like took to heart and feel blessed about is that post-event, I think a lot more startups started showing their faces.
Right.
They're more willing to kind of like show up and say that I am a Malaysian founder. That's something that I'm really, really proud of. And that's one of the core reasons why we could gather the said people at the founders' night dinner that we had. Right. Not everyone is Malaysian, of course, but there are also expats, right? Digital nomads, founders that have moved to Malaysia to kind of like, because they enjoy the place, right? They enjoy the environment, everything that Malaysia has to offer in terms of a community, and so on and so forth. So that is what puts a smile on our faces whenever we think back, right? You know, all the blood, sweat, and tears thrown in. We contrary to what a lot of people think, I want to debunk this right now here on record. We were not profitable. Right. We were not profitable. We thought we broke even, but essentially that we still made a loss. Through minor like billings that came in. But with that being said, we're still very, very proud of the achievement, that particular achievement.
Well, I would say this that you know, Rome wasn't built in a day, and you guys are building the foundational bricks of something that could go way larger. And you know, it's if for anyone that's really perhaps not figured it out, it's one of the best ways to expand your growth funnel, because you know, from a founder to a founder or builder to builder, I can see exactly what Ian has done or doing is, you know, the core bread and butter, but an expansion of this funnel that brings in the right people, right caliber, the inspiration to bigger circles of founders, and then also eventually being able to tap into those people that they can provide more resources. And now the fund as well. Right, which is I think a perfect recipe, right? So kudos to that, and you know, I really wish you guys the best for that particular vision. Now, before we move into like the next session, which is going to be a quick rapid fire before we end this, I want you to highlight a little bit about the specific dates, and give some teaser on record here, if possible. What can our members or viewers or audience expect from Malaysia Blockchain Week?
Malaysia Blockchain Week is going to happen in the same venue as last year, because I think we... In
KL, by the way, guys?
So in KL, Malaysia. We got a lot of feedback. We spoke to a lot of people whilst we were traveling, whether it be KBW token, and so on and so forth, right? And everyone, we kind of gathered all those comments and made our decision based on that. So it was not a unilateral decision from the committee that we want to do there, but it was also true feedback, right? And that's most important. It's happening on the 21st and 22nd of July this year. We are opening our tickets sometime around end of this month or the first week of May for early birds. What's there to look forward to? I can say that there is a new... we've secured our title sponsor.
Okay.
And it's going to be a very unexpected party.
Okay.
Because this dials back to 2017.
Wow.
So I think that's something to look forward to. I think that, look, at the end of the day, it shows progress. If like, without giving too much away, if you're a project as old as 2017 is coming back into the space, I feel that that's a good sign. It's not so much about milking the cycle. Contrary to what a lot of people say.
The fact that you're still here, you're still building, and you have the intentions to continue building.
Correct. And that's a good sign in my books. We're doing a campus tour. I think that's pretty interesting.
Okay.
Basically, we're roving across 6 universities throughout Malaysia.
Wow.
The list is growing as and when we get more buy-ins, but we are doing that to reach out to grassroots. I think grassroots are very important right now. I think the mindset is either very trading centric or very developer centric. Don't look at it from the goggles of us, right? In being Web3, we know what is needed, right? And we will find a way to find the people that we need. But from external view, they feel that in order for me to be part of blockchain or Web3 or crypto, I need to be either a trader, I need to be trading, or I need to be a developer. But that's not true. We still need marketeers. We need those social media managers. We need graphic designers. We need UI, UX artists. We need so many other functions to actually make something happen and something work in a particular project. So I think that's something that we want to spread. We want to educate, right? You don't have to only just be a developer to be part of the blockchain industry. There's way more opportunities for you, right? You're a business student, perfect. You're doing international business, even better, right? You get a firm grasp of how the business world works, right? And that kind of gives you that edge when you jump into the space, right? We need people to know that. So I think building it out from the grassroots are really important. Other than that, we've got quite a number of big collabs coming on board. Stay tuned for that. Last year we offered discounted hotels. That's something that's going to be on the table again. I think those that managed to kind of book it, they really enjoyed it. 5-star hotels with great discounts. That's something to look forward to. We will have quite a major integrations with AI this year.
Wow. Okay.
Right?
Interesting.
Whether is it the web app that we use for our ticketing, all the way down to on-ground engagements and perhaps maybe even an MC that's AI. So that's...
You need to be there to experience it.
Oh, definitely. I think it's going to be different. Not so much as to running something digitally is not difficult. In this day and age, us being here, right, running a broadcast, it's not difficult. But what's difficult is the applications of the latest technology to make it cohesive and make it an immersive experience.
100%.
So that's what we aim to do, and we hope that we'll be able to pull that off this year. I think space is a lot bigger this year. Things that we're doing, so there's a lot to expect. We ran a VCLP event last year. It was a great success. Managed to bring down 30 different funds.
Okay.
Their GPs and whatnot. So this year, we're hoping to repeat that success. And we're bringing more people. I think there's quite a number of interests. So I think if you're a project looking to raise, I think this will be one of the events that is largely very, very value for money, being in Malaysia, and give it a shot. That's all I can say.
TLDR, guys. You don't want to miss it, because if you're a project looking to raise, you got VCs there. If you're a builder, you can meet other builders. If you are an investor, you could probably see and explore these builders that are looking to raise capital. And one of the smartest or brightest minds in Southeast Asia. If you are curious about blockchain, this is where you want to start off, exploring, talking to people. And last but not the least, get out there, be out there, because you never know what you don't know. And that's important to actually find out.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's go to a quick rapid fire before we end this session to bring a bit of a different stance to this whole conversation. Sure. Right? So, quick question, quick one word answer or 2 words or whatever it could be, and then we just keep it going. Right?
Okay.
Your biggest altcoin, as in terms of your biggest bag.
Ooh. Sui.
Okay. Your biggest fumble in the space.
Every day.
that makes the majority of us actually.
I know, right? Right.
Tell me in terms of like your round tripping and how much X gains or in terms of percentage.
Last cycle, the largest that I mastered was like what, 60? 60x?
60x.
60x.
Only to realize you round tripped all of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So key advice: remember to take profit.
Always take profit.
Yeah, that's
ATP.
Right. ATP. Yeah.
Okay. You're a founder you were largely inspired by.
Oh, that's tough. It's never one source, right?
One.
Does it have to be in the space?
Doesn't have to be in a space.
It's so hard. It's like, okay, I'll use Web3. Founder that I was inspired by, and mind you, I know this is rapid fire, but I need to justify my answer. It is because I justify it by the fact that whenever I hear this person speak, it actually emotionally moves me.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so much so that, close to bringing a tear to my eye kind of shit, right? Especially when stories are being shared, right?
Give us a name.
I think in this space, Matthew from Etherscan. I think
I actually agree with you on that.
The story is really, really compelling, and it's like being a tech founder, right? Every single step was a heavy one.
Yeah. Actually, sorry, I'm just going to shine some light on that a little bit as well. I got the privilege to meet Matthew in the dinner event as well. Hence why I said you brought in the brightest minds. But I could see from the interactions that man has gone through a lot. He's definitely an OG. But one thing that has not changed is the principle.
Yes.
The principle around the vision of building what he's built. And what he's built is it's not something that no one in the space that has been in Web3 would not know. Etherscan, right? But definitely agree on that one. A very good response. Favorite community?
Our community?
That took a while.
There's a reason why. Because I was, like I said, I grew from the trenches of like NFT communities, right? So it's like ARC is the latest, something that I hold dearest since joining last year.
Yeah.
Right. And it's about the values that I've learned.
Yeah.
I'm not young anymore, right? And at this day and age of mine, I'm still learning on a like daily basis. Every interaction I have with a fellow ARC member, right? I learn something new. I'm not sugarcoating it. I'm not like bullshitting here.
Yep.
It's literal. I learned something new.
Can attest to that as well.
Yeah.
I can attest.
The reason for that little pause is because I guess it's a little bit more sentimental for me.
Yep.
Right. Despite the fact I know it's like contrary to the whole critical thinking, medical doctor and make fast decisions and not being objective. But this is not a crisis, right? And I think it's a little bit more sentimental for me, being part of ARC, and things that I've managed to kind of like learn from it. It's hence why this short pause.
For the record, I had the privilege to meet Ian, who's a fellow ARC Stellar through ARC as well.
Yeah.
Right? So I can definitely attest to that. One thing that you would change in the space?
That's not a rapid fire question, bro.
That's the question that we're going to end this in the best manner, because I This is one thing that has been, I won't say a personal mission, but it's almost one thing that I'd like to keep highlighting with every smart person I've met or like-minded person, because this is something I truly feel that if we can spread this message across through different distribution channels, and not saying I have a good distribution through this base show, but if we can time and again repeatedly hammer this message across, I feel that's that proud moment I would perhaps be able to contribute. And it's not just me. I think there's many things many people want to change. And just like you said, even though all of this is an experiment, everyone has gone through some sort of an experiment. And that learning is something that I'm curious to combine together.
Right. Tough to answer with 1-2 words, right? Oh, I haven't been doing that.
This is not 1-2 words. So this is your last ending statement, and perhaps this is where
last
we
thought.
end. Yeah.
Okay. One thing I would change. I want to say collaboration, but that's so open, right? People are already doing it, but maybe I can put a little bit of spin to it. Collaboration with openness. That I would put it that way. I think a lot of people in the space right now are a lot more guarded. I think the last cycle, in the NFT and the GameFi cycle, I think people were a little bit more open-minded. That was the industry I was attracted to. People willing to sit down and share and talk. How can we make this work, right? Well, I guess the space is growing, and then it's inevitable that people will start becoming a little bit more competitive. But I feel that we're still so small.
I agree.
So I think collaboration with openness is something that I would want to change. Not so much of like changing to something new, but changing back to the roots of how the crypto community started out and grew, right? Also, extracting it from the panel with the Malaysian founders that I had last year in Malaysia Blockchain Week. They used to run a community, and it's the same faces every single damn day. This was like how many years ago? 6, 7, 8 years ago, and they still came together because why? It was always a collaborative effort to try to push forward, right? Hey, have you figured out how you do this? I need some help doing this. How can we make this work together, right? How can we go to market together? Well, I think that's what's lacking now. Yeah, and with that also, it also reinforces my earlier thought on the fact that we need to step up as founders. We need to step up and help people below that are seeking for help, because the space is hyper challenging, right? Today, this is something new that's being brought up, and tomorrow it might have already phased out.
True.
So we need to be able to kind of like help the people that needs help, in a sense of not go in there and build it for them, but at the very least be a support pillar, someone that they could turn to, right? Not asking you every nook and crook that they need to build, but in general, conceptually, this should be done. These are the hygiene things that you need to get done in order for you to be able to progress to B, to C, to D, right? I think that's fundamental and that's required. I think the space is lacking that openness right now.
I would very well agree with that. I think that's a very good way to put it. And essentially, collaboration over competition. Considering that, there's an opportunity for almost every product, even in very similar niches, because I think execution is where things eventually differ.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Ian, been very inspiring at the very least to say of your journey. A lot of things that, even though I've spoken to you a couple of times, that I have not heard or I have not known before. So, to all our viewers, all our friends listening to this podcast, I would definitely love to hear your comments as well, and what perhaps may have inspired you. In short, I'd say it's been a fantastic journey to see your transition. And I won't even just say transition, because you're still by heart, I still hear that passion of going back to medically help people and patients out there. Something that you're doing as well. If you follow Ian's socials, which we'll tag down as well, you'll see that he's quite actively out there helping people. But Ian, I will say thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure chatting with you, and look forward to that outcome, or that grand event that we are going to witness in Malaysia Blockchain Week.
Yeah, hopefully so, and thanks for having me.
Thank you, man. So that's it for now, guys. Until the next episode, this is Saib, your host. Over and out. Cheers.